Thanks for staying with us tonight with continuing coverage here of a severe weather outbreak across the south. You're taking a live look at Birmingham, Alabama. Temperature just a hair under 70 degrees. We'd urge you to be home tonight and not be out on the roads. I see quite a few cars out there, but severe weather is overtaking Birmingham right now, especially north side of Birmingham. I think downtown Birmingham you're going to be okay, but between Birmingham and Warrior here, we've got a pretty nasty storm that's likely going to cause some damage, and it's already produced a couple of tornadoes. It's actually two storms that have come together to produce one. I'm going to show it to you on the radar tonight and keep you up to date on what's happening and where you might or might not need to take a shelter. We think north side of Birmingham, you need to go to a safe place quickly. Jefferson County under a tornado warning. Forestdale, Gardendale, Pleasant Grove, these would be the cities that would be affected. Again, observed tornado with damage occurring, and it won't be long before it comes right across I-65. Now, I would say this. It's shown some signs of weakening or at least a little bit broader rotation. But when I see this to me indicates that what might be happening is that, and since the storm is condensed in size, the storm might actually be collapsing on itself. So it's really tall thunderstorm, cold at the top. The top of the storm got really heavy and it's just collapsing down on itself. Having said that, that could create really intense straight line winds as the storm comes down and then blows out the wind once it hits the ground. So this part of the storm right in here I'd be concerned about with the motion like this. So Gardendale, I'd be very, very concerned for you and want you to get to shelter as quickly as you can. There is some debris within that, okay? And this is the correlation coefficient. It kind of takes out everything like raindrops, snowflakes, hailstones, stuff like that, and shows you something else that's in the air. And so there's something else in the air right now, which could be leaves, pieces of tree, pieces of building. So something is happening within this storm, but there are some good signs that may not necessarily be as tight of a rotation as it once was. But having said that, treat it like it would be a tornado because we've got so many trees here in this part of the country. The trees falling down on your property and your home is a real threat to you. So there we're timing it out for you. Gardendale, 4:56, so 5 minutes from now. That's all you've got. Fultondale about the same time. So get to where you need to get to now. Get to your basement, get to an interior room, and away from windows and exterior walls. Very concerned about the storms that are passing through Selma right now. Two different tornadoes occurring for us, Dallas and Perry County. In Dallas, we have confirmation of damage. There's the first one that came through Selma. This one's probably going to slide just north of Selma and near Valley Grande. Both of these producing tornadoes likely, but pretty good hook echoes on both of those. And then a storm coming very near Thomasville, north of Thomasville along Highway 43 in Marengo County. This one's got a pretty good couplet on it. In Sweetwater, get to your safe place ASAP. Storm's almost right on top of you as we speak. I don't see a lot of debris in that. It's very ambiguous. Oh, there was a little bit there. We'll back that up a little bit and I'll show you what's going on there. It's right there is the debris coming near Sweetwater. So obviously we had a confirmed tornado there. May have weakened somewhat as the rotation has broadened just a little bit, but please get to a safe spot in Sweetwater. Strong squall line coming through Baton Rouge, now riding right along Highway Interstate 10 tonight. This is going to come north of Lake Pontchartrain, but these storms with these big bow echoes could have wind gusts in excess of 70 miles an hour, Alex, which could knock down trees, take out power, maybe knock down trees onto your home. So inside in your safe place is very, very important tonight, even in these straight line wind events.
Yeah, and so for the areas, Georgia, parts of Alabama, where we anticipate that threat overnight, may even want to sleep in your safe spot. Already get yourself ahead of the curve. That severe threat continues tonight and tomorrow. So more severe storms, more tornadoes expected, as well as hail. Hail is a possibility in our storms tomorrow. We've got Torcon values up to a 7 for Thursday, as strong long track tornadoes will again be possible during the day tomorrow. So here is our threat zone. Areas in purple, that's where we've got the greatest risk on Thursday. And again, Torcon values as high as 7 for places like Myrtle Beach, Raleigh, and Wilmington, North Carolina. You notice under that upper level low, we're going to also be dealing with that threat for storms well north into parts of the Ohio Valley, southern Ohio, parts of West Virginia as well, all the way down into North Florida for that threat of Torcon values in that 3 to 5 range. With a Torcon of 7, numerous tornadoes possible. So again, this would be places like Myrtle Beach and Florence, headed up into parts of the state of North Carolina. We're talking Raleigh, Durham. Increased chance for strong tornadoes, EF2 or greater when you've got that Torcon of 7. Some could be long track. Be ready to take cover. So know where you're going to be throughout the day, and when you're in each of those spots, know where your safe spot is. Have a way to get the warning. Super, super important. Charlotte, your Torcon value of 7. That also includes areas to the south and east. We head farther to the west, Gastonia, Cherokee County, South Carolina. You guys have a Torcon of 5. That would include the Blacksburg and Gaffney areas. Charlotte, you're going to be seeing some storms tomorrow morning, but the greatest risk coming towards the late morning, early afternoon.
Lean Cuisine.
Next on Weather Underground special extended coverage as we track a life-threatening tornado outbreak unfolding across the South. Multiple states face a particularly dangerous situation with violent long-track tornadoes as well as destructive straight-line winds and large hail.
And the danger by no means finished once the sun goes down. We're going to give you the timing for where dangerous storms continue overnight and into the day tomorrow. It's all coming up right now on Weather Underground.
Thanks for being with us. We're taking a live look at Birmingham, Alabama for you tonight with strong storms that have raced near Alabama, past Tuscaloosa, storms that have produced damage on the west side of Birmingham, now moving north of Birmingham right now. Jefferson County is under a tornado warning. We're going to give you everything you need to know tonight about these storms. I'm Mike Bettis alongside Alex Wilson and Dr. Rick Knabb. We're going to give you the forecast as well that takes you through tomorrow where multiple states could be affected. I want to get you on the radar tonight and show you it's very colorful, unfortunately. A lot of yellow, a lot of red on the map, including severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings. Through Birmingham is the area we're going to start, and that's a storm that's going just north of Birmingham and about to cross I-65. There's a good little hook on that storm right down in there. That's where the tornado could be living. Jefferson County is under that warning. Clay, Fultondale, Gardendale, got to get in shelter right now. There's rotation right in there near Gardendale, so into your safe spot immediately. Basement, first level of your home that's in an interior room like a bathroom or a closet, under a stairwell, someplace like that to give yourself protection. That storm's going to come across I-65 and affect motorists there. Hard to tell how much of that is really debris. I think in some instances what we may have is some really strong outflow winds with this as well. Might be kicking up a little bit of dust with the storm, but there's certainly hook echo, a scene on that. In Pinson, 5:09, the expected arrival time. In Clay, around 5:17. So in those locations, and it might slide just north of Pinson or very close to Pinson. I want you to get into a safe spot as quickly as you can. Down past Selma, headed toward the Clanton area here. Two storms, basically almost twins, rolling together at the same speed off to the northeast tonight. Autauga County is under a tornado warning right now. Radar indicated tornado. This is one that came past Selma. It's actually re-intensified. That couplet's a little bit stronger than it was before. It's tightened up a little bit and it's headed toward Billingsley. In Billingsley, get to your safe spot right now. That storm will be there momentarily. That storm could come across Highway 82. Let's time that one out right there. Brandon is our weather producer tonight, doing an excellent job manning the radar. So let's time it out for you in Billingsley so you can get a good idea. 5:08, so that gives you about 7 minutes. And that's it, folks. So get to your safe spot as quickly as you can here in Billingsley. Hard to tell if there's any debris within that or not. It'd be kind of somewhere in here. It might be more dust that could have been picked up here, but that did at one point produce damage in Dallas County back past Selma. You know, looking down in here, it's an interesting signature because you got a bit of a donut hole in there, so it indicates inflow in like this with the tornado sitting down right in there. So I think that storm is cycling, so it'll pulse in essence. It'll weaken, it'll strengthen, it'll weaken, it'll strengthen, and many of the storms will do that tonight. This storm right in here is a little bit more complicated. It could be a rain-wrapped tornado in Marengo County, just north of Thomasville here. You take out the rain, you can see the winds, and we've got rotation that's come over Sweetwater. This did have some debris with it, just past Sweetwater back to the west of Sweetwater. So I want you to take this one seriously. We've had a confirmed tornado here. Near Calvary here around 5:11. In Thomaston around 5:23. So you've got a little bit of time, but not a lot of time. Don't panic. But grab what you need and get to your safe spot quickly this evening. Don't waste a whole lot of time tonight watching the TV or looking out your front door for it. This is coming your way. Really intense bow echo and squall line that's come through Baton Rouge. Damage reported here with the power lines that have gone down and riding right along Interstate 10 near Hammond. This is going to come across Lake Pontchartrain or just north of Lake Pontchartrain, and also really intense winds expected around Macomb. Would anticipate winds 60 to 70 miles per hour here. In Copiah, Jefferson, and Lincoln counties, tornado warning here. This one likely to come across Interstate 55 between Brookhaven, Mississippi, and Crystal Springs, Mississippi. Rotation right down in there. Small, relatively weak rotation at this point, but that storm headed in this direction near Wesson or between Wesson and Crystal Springs. So in Union Church, you're the nearest. It's going to be there momentarily. Get to shelter quickly. In Barlow, 527. In Hazelhurst, around 544 for you this evening. Here's the bigger picture, folks. Those are all the microscopic moments of these storms. But the bigger picture is this. All these areas that are highlighted in red, conditions are favorable for tornadoes to form this evening. Numerous tornado watches, some of them called PDSs, Alex. Particularly dangerous situations where we'd expect is violent tornadoes to stay on the ground for a long time.
And you see Memphis right on the edge of our tornado watch zones. Justin Michaels is live there. Justin, we've seen really persistent heavy rain there as well, causing problems in the metro.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Alex, earlier today, the rain was quite intense. In fact, objects on the horizon completely washed out and how much water was coming out of the sky. To give you some perspective on where those tornado warnings are, about 120 miles to our southwest is where they are, which is that way. So any of the weather that's coming at us is going to come right over the Mississippi River and right at us in this direction. So we have seen darkening skies that way. It was very sunny here earlier today. What's quite interesting is how different the temperatures are in this region of the country. To give you some perspective on that, right now it's in the mid-60s here, about 64 degrees. You go to Tupelo, Mississippi, it's nearly in the mid-80s. So a very different temperature here than it is not too far south of where we are. But that does not diminish the fact that we're still in a Torcon of 7 here. So remember, when we're talking about a Torcon, you've got 10 levels, right? We're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 up on that ring. So make sure you're paying attention. Make sure when you get home from work tonight, if you're in this region of the country, you talk to your family. Hey, we need to have a plan. We need to make sure we know where the NOAA weather radio is, make sure the batteries are charged in that thing, and be ready to go. Make sure your mobile apps are working. Because throughout the course of this evening, could we see tornadoes here in Memphis? Absolutely. Could we see large hail? Absolutely. Could we see intense rains come back? Absolutely. In fact, it's quite likely we're going to see some of those things, if not all of them, Alex. So we've got a long way to go here in Memphis. We've got several more hours of the threat. So this is not the time to be letting our guards down. Alex,
absolutely. Absolutely. And you mentioned the rain you've seen today. More rain on the way. That could lead to some flash flooding issues, just to add insult to injury in many cases. Justin, great points, too, about having a way to get those alerts, having the family agree upon a safe spot. Make sure the things you need are going to be there. Things like shoes, a helmet, leashes for your pets, a carrier for your cats, whatever it is, make sure you have what you may need should you come out and your home is damaged or destroyed. Now, Atlanta's currently at 58. You can see the camera kind of shaking in the wind. We've got that wind coming in, helping to warm things up. So actually earlier this afternoon, we were in the mid-50s. We're seeing those temperatures rise, kind of going the opposite direction that we would expect at this point of day. And things are becoming a bit more favorable for a severe weather threat in the Atlanta area as we head into the overnight and early morning hours of your Thursday. Torcon values through tonight. You can see parts of Alabama and eastern Mississippi will be dealing with a 9 on the Torcon. Other spots, say around Montgomery, points south and east, you've got a 7. We get down into the Dothan area. Now we've got a Torcon of 5 for Atlanta, probably right around a 5, 3 as you head outside of the metro area on the northeast side of town. So west of the city, greatest risk. East of the city, still a risk, particularly for damaging winds as we move into those early morning hours, right in time time for the commute. Now, I know a lot of you not commuting right now, given the work from home, but make sure you know where your safe spot is in your home. And if you are going to be on the roads, make sure you're not traveling during the peak of those storms. As I mentioned, temperatures have been on the upswing in Atlanta. It started off at 57 a few hours ago, now at 58. Birmingham, you've also seen that temperature rising. Montgomery, Albany, Georgia, look at that, 85 degrees. So we've got plenty of warmth focused not too far south from some of these areas that will be dealing with a significant severe threat moving forward. At 8 o'clock, Birmingham area still getting slammed. We've got a lot of action into parts of Mississippi, including storms that could be producing hail, gusty damaging winds, and tornadoes. So that threat continues through the mid and late evening hours. So even after the sun goes down, our threat stays elevated. I don't want you to think, we're going to lose that daytime heating, we're going to lose the storms. Not the case in this scenario. We have enough shear and other ingredients in play that we are going to keep those storms going overnight and into tomorrow morning. So at midnight, Atlanta starting to get in on some storms, but you can see some of the strongest back into parts of Alabama. I think for a place like Atlanta, it'll be 5 to 7 a.m. that you've got your greatest risk on the west side and downtown. And then I would say 5 to 8 a.m. as we look towards areas in the east. But Birmingham, Mike, a few very busy hours ahead. I would say you're going to need to be really aware of what's going on into the early morning hours. I think by the time we get to maybe 3, 4 o'clock, things finally relaxing in the area.
It's just going to be a very anxious night for a lot of people, and maybe a lot of people spending the night in their basements. How about the damage we've seen in Wayne County, Mississippi? Likely tornado doing this damage here. Look at the widespread destruction at this farm. Boy, this is tough, isn't it? Hard to tell exactly what's been hit here. I think we've got some barns that have been hit here. Look, that might be a chicken farm, a poultry farm maybe. Hard to tell exactly, but you can see that we are just, boy, this has been hit very, very hard. Dr. Knapp, we've got a few reports today of damage, spotting the maps tonight.
Yeah, in Wayne County, of course, in southeastern Mississippi, right near the Alabama border. And that has caused Wayne County to be the highest number of customers without power. It's not a widespread power outage situation, but that part of the state certainly receiving some damage that has taken out power lines in addition to damaging structures. Alabama, especially central part of the state, 8,000 customers are out, headlined by Tuscaloosa. Now, let's take a look at what's been going on the last 6 hours or so. And this is where Wayne County in Waynesboro, Mississippi is, right along the border there. And you can see how they've had multiple rounds of severe weather and heavy rainfall. Right now, they're under a flash flood warning. But there have been a number of reports of tornado damage in that area. We'll get to what else has happened in Alabama here in just a minute. But let's look down at Waynesboro. So here's Wayne County, where Waynesboro is. And just east of there in Gretna, 3 structures were damaged. And over in Silas here, just over the border, 4 homes damaged, trees down on Silas Branch Road in the Silas community. And then, at the time, we saw debris signature on the radar, and then they sent up a drone, several photos of video of tornado moving through that community. So we're seeing the tornadoes happen, then we're seeing the damage happen. West of Waynesboro and Whistler, homes damaged near Stringford Cooley Road. Now, that's part of what went northeastward, and then we had a number of reports here in Ward and in Safford and just northeast of Selma, several trees and power lines down. And up in Bluffport here, this is southwest of Tuscaloosa, several trees blown down, 4 structures damaged. So trees are part of the issue as well. And look at all these tornado reports here, southeast of Birmingham and just east of Tuscaloosa in the Lake Wildwood area. So, Mike, we've gotten plenty of damage from the tornadoes, and unfortunately, a lot more is still going on.
Yeah, and I think it's going to last with us through the evening, too. Dr. Knapp, thank you for that. Back to the radar tonight to update you on the warnings that we've got going on. And for many of you, it's a very violent night, and we hope that you're taking these storms very seriously and getting to a safe location. The bigger picture again, it's complicated to say the least. The low energy is actually way back in here, but we're getting a front that's spinning off of that, and so that's forcing storms eastbound here. Then we've had an area out ahead of the front itself that's produced a lot of instability today, and that's why we have the warnings, especially across Alabama, where the tornado warnings have been numerous today. I want to get you north of Birmingham. Jefferson County has been under this tornado warning. This storm has cycled some. It's been weak, and then it's strengthened, then it's weakened, then it's strengthened, coming right over I-65 right now. Clay, Fultondale, and Gardendale, all locations that are being affected. Now, what's interesting about this is that one time they had a real tight couplet on it, then it broadened, thought the storm might be collapsing a little bit. Now noticing that it might be tightening up a little bit with a little flow into the storm like this, with the rotation being right there where that 65 symbol is, right near Gardendale. So intense storm, no question about that. So that's coming basically over Beasley Road, over I-65. If it continues on its current track, eventually over towards, say, Glenwood Road here. So if you're familiar with the area, Interstate 65 and Highway 31, this is what we're talking. Not to mention there's a little hail core within that one as well. So around, say, Warrior or close to Warrior, eventually up toward Locust Fork here. That could happen around 5:33 this evening. Luckily, moving away from Birmingham, where we've got heavy population, into a little bit more sparsely populated locations. Having said that, if you're one of those spots, get to safety quickly. Really wild storms moving in tandem through southern Alabama. Two storms basically side by side, moving at the same speed in the same direction. What that allows for is just completely unadulterated air to come right into those storms and feed them and continuously cycle tornadoes. Autauga County is under a tornado warning right now. This is the same system that produced a tornado in Selma. There's the tornado right there, second tornado back in here. Billingsley, get to shelter now. You've got a tornado bearing down on you. Valley Grande as well. Storms south of Demopolis here, including around Marengo County and near Thomaston. There's a little couplet right in there coming past Sweetwater. This one has had debris with it. It's going to come across the highway here in just a matter of minutes. Really intense squall line here and here. Could be hit with a second one in Baton Rouge. This first initial one did produce some damage in Baton Rouge, knocking down power lines. It's coming right across Interstate 10 at this point. So please be in a safe spot tonight and indoors. More live continuous coverage after this short break.
Gosh, did you know?
It was just living in the moment of disbelief.
Oh my God!
We really were caught off guard.
We couldn't leave. We were stuck there.
There was going to be nothing we could do except try to make it through safely.
That is the most scared that I have felt in my life.
Oh my God! It's surreal. Holy!
Strong RFD. Oh boy.
Ripping up a structure, plenty of debris being strewn about, some large debris as well. Looks like a home, hard to tell here in the distance, but this also gives you a sense of the kind of terrain that we're looking at as this tornado made its way through. Some of the shots, you see some trees. Now, there are a lot of trees and hills across the southeast, which is why we urge you not to go out and try to look for visual confirmation of a tornado. Mike, so important that on days like this, we trust the radar, we trust what the officials at the National Weather Service are warning on, especially here as we move into the overnight hours. Going to be darn near impossible to see some of these, but this particular storm in Tuscaloosa causing problems in terms of downed trees, and at least that one structure we saw there suffering significant, if not total, damage.
All right, so we want to update you what's going on, with these storms this evening, because a place like Birmingham has been under the gun for hours now. That's a live look from our Charles Peak in Birmingham, Alabama. Now he's going north of Birmingham. There's a storm that's north of Birmingham right now that's been tornado warned for a while now. It's been a couple of hours. We've had tornado warnings along this one particular supercell thunderstorm. If Charles sees anything, he's going to let us know, and we, of course, will bring you those pictures live as they happen. But urging everyone to be very, very careful tonight and do their best to be in a safe spot as these storms come through potentially your community. All right, the bigger picture shows you what's going on right now with numerous areas of severe weather across the South, from, well, really near Joplin, Missouri, down through Mississippi, and Alabama in particular. Alabama's been hit very, very hard today with numerous tornado warnings. I do want to get you to that Birmingham one. The storm has gone north of Birmingham here. Jefferson County and Blount County right now are under tornado warnings. It's moving out of Jefferson County at this point, but that storm right there is the one to focus on. Observed tornado with, at one point, there being damage with it. Down around Palmerdale here, we've got a little hook right on the radar right there, eventually coming over, we think, Highway 79 and 75. Maybe head toward Oneonta here. Cleveland, Locust Fork, and Ontiana are the places where we want you to be in a safe spot as quickly as you can be. Basement, tornado shelter, interior room with a lot of walls between you and the outside. That's what you want to do. Put as many barriers between you and that tornado as you can. So let's time it out. In Cedar Springs, 5:28. So about 5 minutes from now. Locust Fork, around 5:32. So you've got about 9 minutes from now. So not a ton of time, but find what you need, be it a flashlight, your cell phone, a bike helmet, some shoes, and get to where you need to go and be there before the tornado strikes. These storms down across southern Alabama have been very interesting. They've moved in tandem together, just kind of like twin storms, moving side by side off to the northeast, both producing tornadoes, including in Chilton County here and coming past Billingsley and toward Clanton right now. That was one tornado that produced some damage around Selma. Very defined signature of a tornado around Billingsley, and now moving near Clanton here. And then there's this one down here also with a pretty good hook echo on it. Timing it out for you. Clanton, 5:29. 6 minutes from now, it's going to be on top of you, so get to your safe spot as quickly as you can. Mineral Springs, around 5:43 this evening. All those storms moving off to the northeast. Not terribly fast. They're not racing at this point, but a lot of these storms are moving between, say, 30 and 40 miles per hour. Farther south and west of there, around Thomaston and Thomasville, two different tornado warnings tonight here. The southern one first. Clark and Wilcox County under tornado warnings, including around Thomasville. That warning goes for just a little bit longer. In Thomaston, that storm right there could be rain-wrapped. Dallas, Marengo, and Perry counties are all under tornado warnings. Dallas County, we've already had one tornado that's come through. That could be a second one, and there was actually some damage reported in Dallas County. Moving back into Mississippi now. This is Meridian right here, Jackson right here, a storm between Brookhaven and Jackson right now, but I want to hit this one first. That thin little storm right there could come right over Interstate 20, Jasper and Smith counties under a tornado warning tonight, and this one back here along 55 producing a tornado warning storm as well. Bay Springs, get to shelter quickly tonight, radar indicated tornado, and then north of Brookhaven, a radar indicated tornado. Big line of storms down here in southern Louisiana, hitting us in Baton Rouge, headed right across I-10 tonight. Tons of lightning. We do think that New Orleans, you will be a target later on this evening. This storm, with the backwards C-shape to it, producing a bow echo, really surging the straight line winds, which can be quite damaging, sometimes as damaging as a tornado itself. Baton Rouge, we're getting hit for a second time with storms, and we had damage there with reported power lines down. The bigger picture, numerous tornado watches in effect through the evening tonight. Be right back with more tornado warnings and the latest forecast for tomorrow.
Yeah, big lightning strike there in Homewood, Alabama. You heard the roar of thunder. That's just a snippet of today's severe weather danger. We're talking thunder and lightning, hail, damaging winds, as well as tornadoes. And that was the problem earlier in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Take a look at the right side of the screen. There you go. This building looks like a home getting ripped apart. You can see large pieces of debris lofted into the air. Today's Torcon values up to a 9. 9 out of 10, so almost as high as it gets. Tornadoes not just likely, Mike, but also the long track and especially strong tornadoes likely today.
That is a huge concern for us. You know, some of these tornadoes, the one especially outside of Birmingham, we believe it could have been on the ground for, 30 to 40 miles. But they'll wax and wane, if you will, as far as intensity goes. Sometimes they'll be more intense, then they'll weaken or they'll lift, and then they'll touch back down again. So the cycling nature of some of these storms is also a big concern. There's a look at the storms firing up in kind of two different complexes, one across Mississippi, Louisiana, then one across Alabama in particular. But now some storms getting into, the Chattanooga area and North Georgia. So a couple different areas that we're going to keep an eye on. All right, well, let's show you here on the close-up radar what's happening, including Birmingham's right here on your screen, kind of down to the south here. And there's the storm that's tornado warned coming past the town of Warrior. It's gone now east of I-65 and headed toward the Oneonta area here. There's a little hook right down in there and a little bit of rotation detected there still. This is the one that I was talking about that we've tracked all the way back outside of Tuscaloosa. So this one's been performing for a while now, a couple of hours, in fact. And so I want you to take this one seriously. And if you're in Oneonta here, please take shelter as quickly as you can. Get to your safe spot now as that storm is bearing down on you as we speak. In Birmingham, we're a little bit better right now. We've kind of avoided some of the worst of the weather in Birmingham itself, but we have it down around Billingsley and Clayton here. There's a look at the tornado warning around the Clayton area here. So that's a storm right there, and that's a storm right there. Both of those have produced tornadoes this evening. Both of them have little inflows into them and producing spin. And this first one here has actually produced some damage back through Dallas County and back around Selma. There's a look again, rotation right there and right there where the red and the green are right next to each other on the radar. That's the velocities, the wind within the storm, and rotation happening where the red is going away from the radar, the wind is going away from the radar, and the green is coming toward the radar, okay? So what you're looking at here is rotation when they're right next to each other. Then we've got more storms down around Uniontown tonight and past Thomasville as well. Two very large storms here. This one will be producing some pretty good hail as well as this one, but both of those have little appendages down here that could be producing tornadoes with tornado warnings in both locations this evening. So if you're in, say, Orrville or in Uniontown, I want you to take shelter. In Thomasville, the storm is on top of you, so inside and in your safe spot is where you need to be tonight. Let's go over into Mississippi as well. Here's Meridian. We'll move the radar a little bit. There's Meridian right there. This storm is coming near Bay Springs for us this evening. Jackson, we're under a severe thunderstorm warning with a big bow echo right in there. This storm producing a spin up of a tornado around Bay Springs. So get to your basement quickly or your storm shelter. And I would say in all these instances, if you're watching us tonight and you're in a mobile home, watch the radar closely and think about finding another place to stay this evening, a friend, family member's house that's a sturdy, frame-built home, maybe workplace or a church or school, someplace like that offers you more protection than your mobile home, which is a very dangerous place to be tonight. Alex?
Yeah, and if you're the person with the sturdy structure, think of somebody you might know who might need a place to stay. Reach out here as we move into the overnight. Winds, you can see they're kicking around Atlanta, 58 degrees right now, but temperatures on the increase as our warm front lifts north. That's going to help to make things a little bit more favorable for severe weather heading into the overnight and morning hours of our Thursday. So the threat does not end when the sun goes down. Instead, tonight, tomorrow, we remain under that dangerous possibility of severe weather. In fact, expecting that outbreak to continue tomorrow. Hail, tornadoes, damaging winds all on the table, including some strong long track tornadoes again possible on Thursday. Areas to watch tomorrow include Raleigh, North Carolina, Wilmington, North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, getting into Florence, Charleston, Columbia, South Carolina, and even parts of Georgia. Around Savannah, Georgia, coastal Georgia, and eastern Georgia, watching for a higher risk of severe weather starting in the morning and then continuing throughout the day. With a Torcon of 7, numerous tornadoes possible and an increased chance of those strong EF2 or greater tornadoes, some of which could be long track. We're back after this.
Kids can...
Well, a severe weather outbreak unfolding right now, and we are getting some views of the aftermath of storms that have pushed through already today. Take a look at Wayne County, Mississippi. Almost a 360 view of destruction here after a likely tornado rolled through this community. We have been tracking warnings all across parts of Mississippi and Alabama throughout the day, as well as other states. Torcon values as high as 9, and unfortunately, this is what we think we could see more of as the day wears on. So I want to walk you through the active warnings, and we're also talking more about what we're watching for overnight and tomorrow, because the threat doesn't come to an end just because the day comes to an end. Right now, we've got warnings closer to the upper low into parts of Missouri, by the way, but a lot of the dangerous weather focused across the deep south, getting into parts of Alabama and Mississippi, where we've got several tornado warnings. We'll start with this one on the northeast side of Birmingham. It is a radar indicated tornado warning in Blount County. We've got Cleveland, Locust Fork, and Oneonta in the path of this one. In fact, Oneonta, you would be one of the communities up next for this storm. These storms have been moving to the northeast. In addition to producing a tornado, could get some hail out of this one. You can see that notch right there. That would be where the tornado is located. So as Brandon times this out for us, Oneonta at 5:50 local time, Blountsville at 5:56, and after the top of the hour for the community of Brooksville, eventually continuing farther to the north. Now we head south of Birmingham, a tornado warning here in Chilton County, as well as the city of Clanton. This is a radar indicated tornado as well. There has been an observed tag earlier on this one. So we're watching for these storms that have already produced tornadoes in some cases, and right around the Clanton area would be our area of rotation. And so this is going to continue to the north and east. Then we've got this secondary zone here with an area of rotation. So we time this out for you for our northeastern storm. Gap of the Mountain at 5:42, Jumbo 5:50, 5:55 in Quincy, and 6:05 for the community of Gold Branch. If I've said your community's name, lowest level, most interior room, where you most certainly need to be right now. We get you to Dallas, Marengo, and Perry County. Radar indicated tornado there. This one also moving northeast, going to cross over 80 to the west of Selma. By the way, we're looking at Charles Peak shot right below me. Pinson, Alabama, where you can see the rain coming down, a sense of what it's like out there. This is a very difficult area to chase, and so we urge you to not get out in the car, go try to find storms tonight. It's very, very difficult to see given the trees, the hills, and of course, just how much rain we're getting out of some of these storms. We get you back to the radar, looking at the Bay Springs area in Mississippi, a tornado warning for Jasper and Smith counties. This also radar indicated. See a little bit of a notch there on the storm. And as Brandon tracks this one out, timing is Bay Springs at 5:44, 5:52 in Lewin, and Baxter at 6:09 local time. Again, if you're in any of these areas, put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. A helmet, shoes, should your home suffer damage, just like what we saw in that video we showed you a moment ago. Now in Jackson, Mississippi, you're under a severe thunderstorm warning, likely to get in on some strong winds. Not just the case for Jackson, but also down around the New Orleans, Louisiana area along I-10. Some very gusty winds out of storms there also. But Dr. Nab, super, super important that people know where to go. If you don't already have your safe spot picked out, you're late. You need to pick somewhere, have an agreement with your family.
And if you're under a tornado watch, you need to be off the roads and going to your sturdy building for the rest of the day in the evening, because too many times people get caught out on the roads and a tornado warning is issued and you're in a really untenable position. So tornado watch, if you haven't already done this and you're under a watch, get off those roads. Get to a sturdy building, friend's house, shelter, whatever it might be, and then spend the rest of the evening there. At that location, all windows and doors should be closed. We don't want to give the storm any advantage to getting into the home. Any loose items on your way into the building, bring them into the garage inside so they don't fly around as more damaging debris. Make sure you have a way to get the warnings when they're issued. Crank up the volume on your cell phone, the NOAA weather radio, whatever it is, and put supplies in your safe place. Get to that in a second, but as a reminder, there are some good places and some bad places to take shelter. In fact, the worst place would be a mobile home. So if you have a tornado watch issued and there's not a warning, if you got time, go to a safer location than a mobile home. Don't shelter in these big rooms with the big, wide roof on top. That's a bad location. The good place is the lowest level, most interior room. The best place is a FEMA safe room. But in any place that you take shelter, your safest spot, add some additional protection with mattress and bike helmets. Have battery-powered lights, your cell phone to get the warnings, your NOAA weather radio to get warnings, a charger, thick shoes and gloves in case there's damage, and first aid kit and medicines. Alex, we got to be ready in case we do actually experience damage, and then we're in a life-threatening situation in the aftermath of a tornado.
Yeah, we always say don't forget about pets. They need leashes, carriers, something that again, should you come out and your home suffered significant damage,
absolutely.
What are you going to need? Great advice. Want to get you up into the state of Missouri, too, guys. We've got some tornado warnings underneath that upper level low. Southwest Missouri. This includes around the Springfield area, really southwest of town, Berry and Lawrence County under a tornado warning right now. We'll get you back to this area and the southeast coming up.
Keeping a really close eye on the severe weather tonight. New video to show you out of Tuscaloosa. Bottom right-hand side of your screen. Check this out. Tornado hits that home, takes the roof right off, throws it up into the air, splinters it. Really heavy damage to some homes here, and numerous places we've seen damage across Alabama and Mississippi with a full-fledged severe weather outbreak happening for us right now. There's a look at the tornado at one point behind this tree line here. Thin little tornado, but packing a punch, no question. And anytime you have a tornado warning issued for your area, the best thing you can do is just drop everything you're doing and go to a safe spot as quickly as you can, especially when you see the damage that they can cause, ripping roofs right off of homes, right? We've also seen a farmstead that was smashed pretty good. A lot of trees and power lines are coming down tonight as well. Even if you don't have a tornado, some of these straight line wind events are producing some pretty good damage as well. A lot of trees that have gone down. There's the big area of severe weather here across the southeast. Also getting some nasty storms here. Well, really where the energy of the low is itself. Front side producing severe weather, rain snow mix on the back side of the system, all right? Into Alabama we go. These storms that have gone north of Birmingham have really been potent in Blount County right now under a tornado warning. Headed up toward the Oneonta area here. Right there is where we are worried about you. Radar indicated tornado. That warning goes until the top of the hour. Little appendage right down in there is where the tornado would be living. That's where the rotation is. The green and the red right next to each other, and that's going to come right past Oneonta here. Please get into your safe spot as quickly as you can. Let's take you farther south now, down around Chilton County here in the town of Clinton here. That's a tornado warned storm. Radar indicated as well. There's spin right over Clinton right now and down just south of Maplesville at this point. So in both those places, take shelter quickly as well. Those storms moving off to the northeast. Outside of Thomasville and Thomaston and the town of Linden, Dallas, Marengo, and Perry counties under a tornado warning with that storm right there. That could be a rain-wrapped storm. And keep in mind, we actually have had tornadoes already around the Selma area and just to the west of Selma, and some damage reported already in Dallas County from a previous storm. Now we're getting another one hitting us. There's the rotation right in there. Somewhat broad at this point, but coming past Alberta right now, headed toward Highway 80, maybe close to Selma again. And then there's the storm down around Thomasville as well. Clark and Wilcox counties are under tornado warnings. Bay Springs, this storm right here has gone right through, and then another one comes in right behind it. Isn't that crazy? Jasper County under a tornado warning. This is in Mississippi, okay? So in Bay Springs, Stay in your shelters where you need to be tonight. We've already had one come through. There's the second bit of rotation about to hit you in Bay Springs again. Then south into Louisiana. Squall lines here producing bow echoes with very violent winds. 60 to 70 mile per hour winds that have already knocked out power in portions of Baton Rouge, racing along I-10. Baton Rouge, we've been hit twice this evening. And I want to get you up. There's the system, the low itself spinning here. There's the severe weather in extreme southwestern Missouri around Springfield, between Joplin and Springfield. Berry County, a tornado warning for us. Near Manette here, also a tornado warning in Lawrence County. So take a shelter in a place like Verona. Those storms could come across Interstate 44 this evening. So a lot happening in multiple states tonight, Alex.
And it will continue even after the sun goes down. So really crucial. You know the timing for your city. You know the danger if you're in that danger zone. And if you are, that you go ahead and take those precautions ahead of time. I've recommended to people, if you're in this area, sleep in the basement, that lowest level, most interior room. That way you're already ahead of the game when it comes to whether or not the warnings are issued. If they are, you don't have to scramble when you're kind of half asleep and out of it. You're already in your safe spot. Torcon values remain around a 9 for parts of Mississippi and Alabama into the overnight. The rest of Alabama in this shade of purple, that's where we've got Torcon values of 7. Around Atlanta, the west side of town, a 5. The east side of town, a 3. Damaging winds will also be a huge threat there across parts of North Georgia. We look at the temperatures. They have been on the increase for parts of North Georgia. So a chillier day with that wedge settled in. But as the north front lifts, we're seeing some of that warmer air out of the south surging northward. And that's going to help to make things more favorable for severe weather in parts of North Georgia over the next several hours and really the overnight and tomorrow morning. Future radar looks like this. You can see all across the southeast dangerous storms at 9 o'clock. Particularly here in eastern Mississippi, eastern parts of Alabama, the Birmingham area, going to continue to get in on the storms even into the early morning hours. I think parts of North Georgia have some chances around midnight, but the greatest threat for those storms coming during the early to mid-morning hours. So here, 4 or 5 o'clock, we're getting into the western part of the Atlanta metro area. Downtown, probably around 6, with, say, 7, 8 o'clock, the eastern communities getting in on those strong storms. Again, Birmingham, brace for at least another 6 to 8 hours of severe weather chances with you. We're back after this.
With every cup.
Weather Underground special extended coverage as we track life-threatening tornado outbreak unfolding across the South. Multiple states face a particularly dangerous situation with violent, long-track tornadoes possible, as well as destructive straight-line winds and large hail.
And the danger by no means finished once the sun goes down. We're going to give you the timing for where dangerous storms will continue overnight and into the day tomorrow. It's all coming out right now on Weather Underground.
We're glad you're with us here for extended coverage on Weather Underground of a severe weather outbreak. How about a tornado touching down in Tuscaloosa? Right-hand side of your screen, look at that. That home gets ripped apart as the roof gets taken right off, tossed into the air, and splintered. This is the kind of scene that could repeat itself throughout the evening and then even after the sun goes down. And there's that nighttime danger. Really violent weather happening for us today. And there's a look at that tornado when it was occurring behind a tree line there. Thanks for being with us. I'm Mike Bettis alongside Alex Wilson and Dr. Rick Knabb. We're going to check in with Paul Goodlow live in the field in just a moment for an update on conditions. But here's what's happening right now on the radar. A couple of different areas of severe weather, especially through Mississippi and Alabama, but also severe weather happening for us across Missouri tonight as well. Alabama has been hit particularly hard with tornadoes this evening. This one tornado, the supercell itself has lasted for hours, but it's been tornado warned ever since it was back past Tuscaloosa, now toward Oneonta right now, Blount County right now, under a severe thunderstorm that could produce a tornado. Okay, so Cleveland, Locust Fork, and Oneonta, please take shelter quickly with a possible tornado here. Could come right over Oneonta here or very near. There's the circulation right there, but I think that might come right over Highway 278 near Brooksville tonight. So if you're in Brooksville, take shelter as well. A lot of storms down here in southern Alabama around Clayton right now and Billingsley. A couple of different storms that have moved in tandem for hours now, have come past Selma and produced some damage, but Coosa, Shelby, Talladega counties we're under tornado warnings now. There's a tiny little circulation outside of Mineral Springs headed toward Talladega Springs. So in your safe place is a good spot for you to be tonight. Notice a lot of these storms have these little low-hanging, southern-hanging appendages to them. This storm here is complicated. I think this one here is rain-wrapped if there's a tornado in there, with Dallas and Perry counties under that warning. That's a similar spot that the previous storms came through. So we could be looking for a couple spots getting hit twice between Thomaston and Thomasville. Tornado warning here in Marengo County. Broad rotation up in here, broad rotation down in here. To me, those aren't really tight circulations producing strong or intense tornadoes, so that's a good sign. Having said that, you know, these storms throughout the day have been cycling, pulsing. At times they'll produce a tornado, then they'll weaken, then they'll produce again. Let's go over to Mississippi now. Meridian up here. All right, this is Bay Springs. Tornado warning for us in Jasper County. Two different storms that come over the same spot. The rotation's right there over Bay Springs and into your safe spot quickly tonight. Same for you in Montrose here, right along Highway 15 this evening. Farther south, with numerous bow echoes forming here around Bogalusa, and another a storm with strong straight line winds coming across Interstate 10 tonight, and then 12. I think Hammond could be a spot that gets hit for a second time. This one around Bogalusa could produce 60 to 70 mile per hour winds. That same complex actually produced some damage back in Baton Rouge, taking down some power lines. There's the complex system with the low sitting about here. Rotation is in this direction, so the warm, unstable air is producing severe weather. The cooler air is actually producing some rain-snow mix. Wichita going over to some snow. Tornado warnings for us here in southwestern Missouri, including tornado warning in Berry County, just outside of Cassville here. Little appendage on that one that might be producing a hook echo and a tornado. Severe thunderstorm warnings coming across Interstate 44 tonight, but that radar indicated tornado warning goes until 6:15 this evening. Alex?
And Paul Goodlow live in Tupelo, Mississippi right now. Paul, already in the action, so to speak. You just had tornado sirens going off. Actually, I can hear them now.
Yeah, they've been going off for the last, say, 5 minutes or so. Again, we had a severe thunderstorm warning earlier that expired, but a new one popped up just south of us and southwest of us. In fact, if you look just past City Hall here in downtown Tupelo, about 20 miles off the left side of that building is where we possibly have a hook echo. You can clearly see it in the radar that Mike was showing earlier. So again, under a tornado warning, if you're in Tupelo City proper, we're not in this, but this is awfully close. There's rain. If you're in Okalana, you are wrapped in rain and counting this almost nonstop lightning there. If you're in Nettleton, this is headed your way, and it's about to move into Monroe County. And again, you're under that tornado warning. This goes for another 27 minutes, the bottom of the hour, 6:30 local time. So Chickasha, as well as Itawamba, southern and southeastern Lee County, the county where Tupelo is, as well as Monroe County, under that tornado warning till 6:30 local time. Nothing has been reported as spotted on the ground, but you can clearly see that rotation on the radar. I saw that hook echo on the radar moments before the National Weather Service office did issue that tornado warning again. So they're doing their best. They have their hands filled. Be prepared to move on a moment's notice for severe weather. We have a torque count of 7 here in Tupelo, Mississippi, meaning we expect tornadoes, maybe EF2 or stronger here. So that's on a scale of 1 to 10. We have a good chance of seeing severe weather even after the sun goes down. Yes, it comes down a little bit later, but we still have that risk. So make sure you have numerous ways of being notified for severe weather, including tornadoes in the area. And even a severe thunderstorm warning should be treated as a potential tornado, because this same cell was severe, and then within 15 minutes it started rotating and possibly producing a tornado. So that's a big concern. Earlier today, before the severe weather came through here, we got a chance to visit one of the storm shelters, one of the community storm shelters they have all across the state, and several they have here in the city of Tupelo. And it was a well-built structure, can withstand winds of 250 miles per hour. I talked to one of the city parks managers who was in that area. He said he expects by 3 or 4 this afternoon for people to start showing up. So people are aware of this. School today was gone virtual to make sure families have a way to make sure they know where people are in case they have to move in a moment's notice. And unfortunately, there are probably a lot of people concerned right now, because as the sun gets lower in the sky and darkness sets in, it's going to be even more dangerous, because some people want to see what's going on. Don't worry about looking at it. Just worry about keeping you and your family safe. It's going to be a long night in this part of northeastern Mississippi. Alex?
Yeah, it's a great point. On nights like this, you got to trust the technology and those warnings that you're receiving. Paul, thanks so much. We're going to let Paul take cover here. We'll get back to him, of course, as it's safe to do so throughout the evening. Through tonight, Torcon values as high as a 9 out of 10 across parts of Mississippi into the state of Alabama, up into where Paul is. We've got a Torcon of 7, and that extends all the way to the Alabama-Georgia state line. So that kind of electric purple shade would also be a very high risk of tornadoes. Now around Atlanta, I think you're right around a 5 downtown and west of town, to the east of town around a 3. So plenty of areas, plenty of metro areas that remain in that threat zone here through the remainder of this evening and into the overnight. We've had that wedge throughout the day, that cooler air that's been settled in across sections of North Georgia, upstate South Carolina, western North Carolina, but that is breaking a bit as some of that warm air has made its way north. We haven't seen a crazy bit of warming here over the last hour or two, but I still think we're going to get enough of that warm air that we are unstable enough to sustain some of those storms well into the early morning hours of our Thursday. Looking at the future radar, this is what is shaping up. We've got North Georgia all the way into Mississippi for the 8-9 o'clock hour. By the time we get to midnight, you can see those storms again approaching the Birmingham area. Atlanta metro area at least has some thunderstorm activity. Birmingham, I think beyond 2-3 o'clock, things should finally settle down for you. So you've got another 6 hours or so to go. Atlanta, the strong storms coming into your area just in time for that morning rush. I think 6-7 o'clock for downtown and areas east all the way until the 8 o'clock hour. But again, Birmingham, you need to be weather aware while you're sleeping. I know a lot of people are lights out at 10. So with that threat extending towards midnight, 2 a.m., have a way to get those warnings. We're also watching the Memphis area today, not too far from northern Mississippi, where we find Paul Goodlow is where we have Justin Michaels. Justin, of course, severe weather most certainly on the table, as well as flash flooding issues.
Yeah, definitely. We're at a Torcon of 7 here, so we certainly have that heightened risk for tornadoes throughout the evening. The good news is it's all going to be coming to an end probably around the 9 or 10 o'clock range. Let's hope it stays that way, and let's hope we get from now to then with no tornadoes. That would be the goal, right? It has been a relatively dry last few hours, unlike earlier today where we were in torrential downpouring rain to the point where, items on the horizon were just disappearing in the amount of water coming from the sky. Now, looking to the southwest, you can see how dark it is back there through the trees, and even the clouds kind of streaming overhead are getting a little darker. So we know that there are storms down there. If you just look at the radar, you can clearly see it. Will any of them decide to come to Memphis tonight? Well, we're going to have to find out over the next couple hours. For right now, though, it's dry. We do know that the flash flood warning has expired, but the tornado watch is still in place. That doesn't expire until 7 o'clock local time. That means 8 o'clock East Coast time. Earlier today, that was supposed to expire at 1 o'clock, and it was pushed to 7. So could it get extended again? Time will tell. We'll have to see what the Storm Prediction Center says about that. But don't think for one second that we're out of the woods here in Memphis. Again, let's all hope that we are. And let's hope that this evening is going to be nice and calm and the storms decide to just go right around, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be the case. So be very careful as you're going throughout your night. Dr. Nab, of course, it's one of these evenings here in Memphis and all across the South. If you haven't done it already, this is the time to pull out that tornado plan, go through it with your family, with your kids, with the people who live with you. Make sure everybody knows what to do and where to go in the event that warning finds itself right over your house.
Yeah, Justin, you're absolutely right. And the best advice, first of all, is to stay off the roads, whether you're under a tornado watch, if you've got the flood issues going on. Roads are a bad place to be. Get to safe places, stay off the roads, because up here in Memphis, you look at what's off to your west. There's still quite a bit going on out there, and you've got the lines going through right now. But we've got a lot of different types of warnings out there, but part of what's going on is flash flooding, and especially down here in Mississippi and Alabama, where we've had tremendous amounts of rainfall over the last 24 hours, and it keeps raining over some of the same spots. So look at all these tornado and severe thunderstorm warnings, but the green boxes here in Mississippi, Alabama are a lot of flash flood warnings. Now, if you look in Waynesboro, Mississippi, You're getting a little bit of a break right now, but you're still under a flash flood warning until 8:15 local time because of the heavy rain that has already fallen. You've got damage in the area from the tornado. You got some water-covered roads, and look at what's coming. A lot more heavy rainfall, so the flood problem will probably get worse in that area before it gets better. Off to the east of there, in Thomasville and Camden in southwestern Alabama, your flash flood warning goes till 11:45 local time. Really heavy rain, inch or two per hour rain rates with vicious lightning going on there. North of Birmingham, south of Huntsville, this is up in Coleman, Alabama. You got a flood warning till 11:45, and just to the northwest of there, in West Point, Alabama, you've got a flash flood warning, and there are numerous reports of closed roads, barricaded roads, impassable roads. Do not try to drive in West Point, Alabama right now. Too many blocked roads, and as it gets dark, really hard to tell if water's covering the roads. And why do you want to be out on the roads anyway when you should be in a safe place because of the severe weather? Florence, Alabama, flood warning until 11:15, and we've got intersections covered in water. And then over the border in Mississippi, in Belmont, we've got flooding in that area reported by emergency management and the public, and that area northeast of Tupelo under a flash flood warning. And yes, you've got the tornado warning in Tupelo, but another flash flood warning southwest of there. Alex, I can't think of how many reasons do we want to list that you do not want to be on roads tonight.
Absolutely. There's just too many threats in play, and now that the sun goes down, just makes everything so much worse. Tomorrow, we think more severe weather coming. So could we get more scenes like this on Thursday? Most certainly. This Gardendale, Alabama, some new pictures. You can see this tree just splintered in this person's yard. Falling trees, a real and definite danger here as we head into the overnight hours and through the day tomorrow. With gusty winds, there's a lot of trees in the southeast, and unfortunately, those could be coming down into homes, into vehicles. So important you stay vigilant and off the roads in your safe spot when those strongest storms are rolling through. So through tomorrow is the timing for our severe outbreak. And tomorrow, again, possibility of tornadoes, of damaging wind gusts, and for hail. And once again, tomorrow, the threat is there for some strong long track tornadoes. Torcon values as high as 7 on Thursday, and that includes eastern Georgia into the state of South Carolina, say around Spartanburg southward, and then getting into central and eastern North Carolina. We'll be watching the Charlotte metro area during the morning as well. Notice that area up under the low in West Virginia. You actually could see a few isolated tornadoes. Now, with a Torcon of 7, numerous tornadoes possible, and there's increased chance that we see those strong tornadoes, those that are an EF2 or greater. Some could be long track, and so bottom line, be ready. Know where you're going to be tomorrow, and where you are, make sure you know where the safe spot is in that building. Or if you're going to be outside, make sure you know of a nearby safe shelter. And again, if you can time your drives around the storms, always a good thing. You do not want to be out on the roads with these storms rolling through. Tomorrow, it'll be mid to late morning for the Charlotte area that you see the storms begin. 7 out of 10 on the Torcon. You head west of town into Gastonia, into Blacksburg, South Carolina. 5 out of 10 on the Torcon. But again, as we time things out for Charlotte, as we get in towards that mid and late morning time frame, you can see the storms beginning to edge closer to the Charlotte area and into the early afternoon. An isolated storm threat. Torcon values of 7 also into Raleigh, Durham area.
We log at the top of the world, a mile high into the mountains. That's where some of the best logging is.
It's absolutely insane up here.
Careful, careful, careful. There's lots of things that can go wrong.
The mud just does not stop.
You can't stay on the road.
You just hope you make it.
It's a battle against Mother Nature. It's not for everyone.
Let the fun begin.
Thanks for staying with us here tonight on the Weather Channel as we keep you up to date on a severe weather outbreak happening across the South right now. A lot of active warnings currently. We want to bring you the latest on those warnings so you know exactly where the storms are and if you need to take shelter or not. Large area here across the South where storms are erupting. A lot of severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings this evening. Want to start just outside of Tupelo tonight. There's a storm right here down around Emory where we've got a tornado warning on this in Itawamba County, Lee County, Monroe County. That's around the town of Nettleton. That's a radar-indicated tornado. The warning lasts until 6:30. Eventually, that's going to come right across Interstate 22 tonight. Back over outside of Birmingham. Birmingham's down here to the bottom of your screen. This storm has stayed together for hours now. Much smaller storm, but Blount County right now under a tornado warning. That storm is starting to get washed out a little bit, and I think that's good news. Very weak rotation right now just outside of Altoona here, headed toward Mountain Borough. Be ready to take shelter in Mountain Borough. Here's the other good sign. They have not extended the tornado warning. In fact, the next warning in line is a severe thunderstorm warning. So I think also the National Weather Service is looking at this storm as a weakening storm. And that's, again, very good news. That's been a cycling storm for hours. Coosa, Shelby, Talladega counties are under tornado warnings right now. We've got overlapping warnings right now. We actually had two different storms. Now it looks like the initial storm there is starting to dissipate. The second storm is the more potent of the storms at this point, but not a lot of rotation seen with that. I think more straight line winds with that storm now. We don't have any tight couplet that's in there around Mineral Springs. So also good signs that that storm might be weakening. Now down farther south between Alberta and Camden. This is also a tornado warned storm in Wilcox County here. So please take shelter quickly tonight. Alberta, you're a location that's under the gun right now. And they just issued a new warning up around Selma. So I want to get you to that one. And around Selma, we've had numerous warnings here this afternoon. That one right there for Dallas County. Again, I think this is our third tornado warning today. Perry County under that warning as well. And I'm going to see if I can put on the velocity, see if we see anything within that. I don't see a lot of rotation in that. I do see what could amount to be some very strong straight line winds. And then down here with this one around Alberta, again, hard to see, but maybe some rotation right in there. Want to get you over to the New Orleans area. Storms have hit us twice in Baton Rouge. Worried about this complex down here around Morgan City. That's got a really good bow echo to it. Iberia, St. Martin, and St. Mary parishes are under severe thunderstorm warnings. Eventually, that does get into New Orleans. Look at this storm here. We've got snow in Wichita, but severe weather, including tornadoes near Springfield. Tornado warning for us right now in Berry and Stone County. Moving off to the north, eventually coming over Highway 44. Take shelter very quickly. Alex?
A big afternoon of weather. Charles Peak, our storm tracker, is in Gardendale, Alabama, joining us now on the phone. Charles, you have been out monitoring the storms here, a very difficult part of the country because of all the trees. And here an example of why we say that it's so important to be, in that most interior room in your home.
Yes, Alex, the numerous trees are down, power lines down here in Gardendale, and this one down on this house. But fortunately, talking to Chief Banks here with the Gardendale Police Department, he said there were no injuries. They do have damage throughout the town, but no injuries reported at this point in time.
What's it been like as you've been driving around this community? Were you there when the storms hit, and can you describe what that was like?
No, I've sort of jumped around. I caught it just on the other side to the east of here, and have been following since I was on it southwest of Tuscaloosa earlier in the day, and it's just kept going and producing. And I've sort of been hopscotching trying to get back in front of it. So I wasn't in Gardendale, but was about 10 miles to the east as it came over through Pinson and stuff.
Have you heard from any of the residents here, whether or not, I know we heard no injuries, but in terms of a sense of how much damage and if there's damage inside the home?
Alex, I just pulled up on the scene and was talking to the police chief when they wanted to talk to me, so I haven't had a chance, but that's what I'm fixing to do next is get out and talk to the residents and find out what all they're dealing with here.
Most certainly. You got a lot on your plate on days like today. We appreciate you bringing us the look at what's happening out there on the ground. But again, you look at an image like this, and this is why we tell you to sleep in that lowest level, most interior room if you've got that threat of storms overnight. And if the severe thunderstorm is the warning you get, rather than a tornado warning, you still want to treat it like a tornado warning. Get inside. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible, because falling trees most certainly a danger here through the remainder of today, tonight, and into tomorrow. By the way, real quick, I want to give you a look at my max where we are watching for those storms later tonight. Torcon values up to a 9 still across parts of Mississippi and Alabama. Getting into Georgia, Torcons of 5 across West Georgia up to the Atlanta area. So just because the sun is going down does not mean the storms are stopping. In fact, a place like Atlanta, you've got rain now, storms to start your Thursday.
Get you a check of the radar tonight so you know exactly where the storms are, which ones are warned, what the threat's going to be to you. Several severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings tonight, especially across the deep south through Mississippi and Alabama. Now, one thing that's interesting, if you look at the radar in the big picture here, we had two distinct separate areas of severe weather here in Alabama and then back here through the afternoon. But now notice that front's starting to charge eastbound now, and their two are starting to catch up to each other, okay? The first one's slowed down a bit. This one's racing eastbound. So now they're going to start to merge a bit, all right? And I think that's going to cause us big issues with a very powerful squall line that moves through. I want to take you up outside of Tupelo tonight and right across the Interstate 22. This is a storm that's going to go east of Tupelo, but near say Nettleton, all right? A storm that's gone past Armory right now with a little bit of rotation down on the south end of that Smithville. Want you to take shelter pretty quickly this evening. The storm that's been over well north now of Birmingham, this one here in Blount County, still has the tornado warning just now dropped. That's good news. No longer severe thunderstorm warned either. So that storm had been tornado warned for hours. Finally, it has given up. But we do have a flash flood warning in Coleman and Morgan counties now, and we've got plenty of rain for us for the remainder of the evening. I think a lot of places are going to take on some high water tonight. The other part of the good news here is these storms down here that were tornado warned are no longer tornado warned. Those warnings have also expired, and the ones down here around Alberta have also expired. But now we're going over to more flash flood warnings because so many places have picked up incredible amounts of rain. Clark and Wilcox County, you were under a tornado warning. Now you're under a flash flood warning this evening. Thomasville, we're still under a severe thunderstorm warning. That's Clark and Wilcox County. And watching down around Morgan City, really intense squall line here with a severe thunderstorm warning. Eventually, we think that gets into New Orleans over the next couple of hours. Alex?
And the state of Mississippi has found itself in a very dangerous position today. Paul Goodloe is in Tupelo, Mississippi. Paul, about a half hour ago, you had those tornado sirens going off. Always an eerie feeling, but I know not necessarily unusual for this part of the country. Maybe just a little early. Typically, we think of April and May as the time for storms like this, as opposed to mid-March.
Yeah, March is kind of early, but, we're seeing things get more active earlier with kind of a warming climate. So it's definitely something to be expected as we go forward here. In fact, sometimes we can see severe weather any month of the year here across parts of the South, kind of a secondary peak of action for severe weather. It's not just the Central Plains as well. Behind me, we're seeing kind of a very turbulent sky. The rain is letting up a little bit, but the concern is there's still storms just off to our south and west here, which are coming this way. We've also mentioned, Mike mentioned it, the heavy rain threats. Flash flooding is also a concern. 1 to 2 inches of rain already fallen in some areas, and all that is coming this way as well. So that's another thing you have to worry about. In terms of tornadoes, definitely have to worry about that. We have a Torcon up of 7 here in Tupelo. Just south of us, we have a 9. That's on a scale of 1 to 10. So again, we're close enough to that 9. And still, in any given day, 7 is a really high number. 9 is close to the top here. We have a high likelihood of seeing dangerous, long-lived tornadoes in this area. And again, as the sun goes down later on this evening, it's also concerned with this continuing overnight as well. One nice thing they do have across many parts of this state here are storm shelters. We visited one earlier today. It could hold about 1,000 people. I was talking about what are the COVID rules here. At the end of the day, are you going to turn someone away because of COVID limitations when you have a tornado outside? So, when push comes to shove, they have room for anyone that needs shelter in this. And by the way, that shelter you're looking at can withstand 250 mile-per-hour winds. Hopefully we won't get anywhere near that or anything kind of danger of that, but there is a safe place in that part of the country where not a lot of people have storm shelters or a basement to go to when we have this type of threat. So they're there, but hopefully they won't have to be used.
Absolutely.
Alex?
But so important to know where your local shelter is. So should your home maybe not be the sturdiest place to spend the storms, make sure you know of a nearby spot and position yourself there through the evening if that threat is in your area. Same for overnight, guys. We're going to keep the threat going as we head into the sleeping hours, which tend to be an exceptionally dangerous time because you're vulnerable, right? You're sleeping. You're not necessarily aware of what's happening in terms of the weather. So it's critical you have something to alert you, wake you up, because our storms continue through parts of Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia overnight, as well as parts of, say, southern Tennessee and western Florida, getting into the panhandle. So also something to think about. I had a friend write me, lives in the Atlanta area, says, hey, should I sleep in my safe spot? Absolutely. If it's not, a hassle, or, I mean, even if it is, it's worth moving everything. Sleeping there, you're ahead of the game. If the warnings are issued, you're already where you need to be. So super, super critical. Again, those storms continue tonight. Places like Birmingham into the very early morning hours, 1, 2, 3 a.m. And for a place like Atlanta, 4, 5, 6, 7 a.m. for your dangerous storms. We'll be right back.
Walter, did you know Geico could save you hundreds on car insurance and a whole lot more? So what are you waiting for? World's strongest man, Martins Litzis.
Thanks for staying with us as we follow severe weather for you tonight, including new video out of Tuscaloosa, Alabama, with a tornado right-hand side of your screen, hitting that building, lifting the roof off, and throwing it into the air. A lot of damage to that building, unfortunately. I believe there's several homes that have been hit by this tornado. And that was a tornado, that was a big supercell that had tornado warnings on it for several hours. There's a look at the thin tornado itself behind a tree line there. Several places where we've had tornadoes touch down today and produce some damage. There's still an ongoing threat for us for the remainder of the evening. Likely to see some tornadoes return tomorrow as well. So I want you to be aware of what's going on tonight, folks. A lot of different places are going to see issues. There's, by the way, another large supercell that may have had a tornado in and around Brookhaven, Mississippi. Hard to tell behind the tanks here and the trees, but this one may have also produced a tornado that had caused some damage. I want to pass along some good news. I know we give you a lot of bad news sometimes. I want to pass along some good news. A lot of our tornado warnings across the South have actually expired. We only have one active tornado warning right now. It's actually over in Missouri. So here's what's happening for us right now. We've got a large area of thunderstorms across the South. We had two distinct areas of storms here. And one thing I'm going to do on this radar is I'm going to actually take this back to the very beginning of it, right there. See, there was two distinct areas. There was an area out ahead of the main line, which was right here. Now, this first area right here was the one where you had instability and some daytime heating, and individual discrete supercells started to form. We knew some storms would form along this line as well, and maybe some embedded tornadoes as well. But now the line is catching up to that instability, and that line is really the thing that's going to take over and surge, if you will. I want to take you to Hattiesburg, by the way. There's a look at Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and there's a look at the storms that are coming through for us right now. Heavy rain is happening for us right now in Hattiesburg and a couple of different areas across Mississippi where heavy rain is going to be an ongoing issue for you here, and the possibility of some ongoing flash flooding. But a severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for this area. Forest and Lamar counties are under a severe thunderstorm warning right now. You're probably going to get some really intense winds with that. I don't think you're going to get much in the way of hail. It's a really thin line. A little burst happened right as it came into Hattiesburg, so wouldn't be surprised to see 60-mile-per-hour winds, maybe some tree damage, maybe some power lines that have gone down. Look at all the lightning, though, with it. A ton of cloud-to-ground lightning, lightning around Bogalusa as well. Our warning until 7 o'clock this evening, but a whole bunch of warnings just popped up here with that line that is formed here in Forest and Lamar counties. Again, the big picture, and I want to go back to the tornado warnings here in Missouri. These storms are getting closer and closer to Springfield, which sits right here. Stone County, now the latest tornado warning for us here, radar indicated tornado. The expiration is 7 o'clock on that. Those storms are generally moving north-northeast, and I think that Springfield, you could be a target for those storms. Severe thunderstorm warning on Interstate 44 tonight, just west of Springfield in Christian Green and Lawrence counties. 6:45, the expiration on that. Again, big wind wind, I think, is going to be the issue there. I want to show you the picture here across northern Mississippi and northern Alabama. Tons of rain here. Not a lot of severe thunderstorms. We've got one warning outside of Tupelo, but I think what we may transition to is less of a tornado risk, more of a severe thunderstorm, high wind risk, and a lot of flooding because so many places have already had storms today, and now they're getting even more tonight. There's your one severe thunderstorm warning past Armory and east of Tupelo. Itawamba counties here and Monroe counties under a severe thunderstorm warning between Hamilton and Tupelo on I-22. Not a place you want to be. Tornadoes are possible within that. There's been little hook echoes down toward the bottom of that, and it's kind of in an atmosphere that's a little undisturbed at the moment. Then I want to take you down toward the Meridian area. Severe thunderstorm warning here between Meridian and Philadelphia. Leake, Neshoba, and Newton counties right now under a severe thunderstorm warning. But the good news at this point here, Dr. Nab, is it seems like the tornado risk has come down just a little bit, although we expect more tornado watches to be issued this evening.
Yes, and in addition to that, severe thunderstorms that can take down trees and flash flooding make roads an incredibly dangerous place to be tonight, especially in Mississippi and Alabama. And you got that big line of severe thunderstorms about to come into Alabama where we've got a lot of flood warnings. So it's only going to get worse with the flooding. And even on the southern end of all of this, in Louisiana, we've got flood advisories just southeast of Baton Rouge.